This is the Victory Sports Network's NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley, streaming live across all social media platforms, including X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the Urban Edge Network. This program is made possible each week by the support of Huddle. Huddle provides VSN access to the biggest games on the NAIA schedule each week. VSN just makes a request to the home team to receive access, and boom! We get the full coaches video breakdown, scheming, going through, seeing what all happened, rewatching plays 6 times over and over again. Break down the best games in NAIA football with the support of Huddle and all those NAIA coaches sending us video every week. NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley also streams on the Urban Edge Network. Urban Edge Network provides access to the best games in NAIA football every week. Just download the app now via the App Store, watch on your TV, phone, or tablet. The Urban Edge Network leading the way with access to NAIA events and championships. Of course, always a reminder, the views expressed on this program are of myself and Mr. Pat Donnelly. They do not represent the views of the NAIA or its institutions. All right. Let's have a show, folks. It's time to talk some NAIA football. Let's go.
NAIA football is the true version of what college football is supposed to be. And it is the best classroom experience an 18 to 22-year-old male can have. One of the most valuable parts of a college education is that experience. It's life in a microcosm, and it's just something special for a young man to have to experience.
And don't you let a moment go without thinking about what's there for you to reach out and grasp.
Let's go, folks. It's time for some NAIA football, and this is NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. I'm your host, Jason Dannelly, and we head into week 1. All the games are done. Time to do a little analysis of them and, see who the winners and losers are. Maybe see who some of the teams are to watch this year that are surprising us early on in the world of NAIA football. We had some doozies over the weekend. Of course, we're going to be talking about Benedictine and Grandview. That'll be coming up a little bit later on in the program. Carroll College and Montana Tech battled in Helena. We've got that one as well. Plus, an upset in the Hart Conference. Baker University, they go to Peru State. Peru State reeling from a week 0 loss to Oklahoma Panhandle State. And the Bobcats get the victory in Peru. That game and a whole lot more. But before we get to that, let's bring in the co-host of this program, my good friend and the guy that actually understands and knows football, who just peeled his face away from watching game film. I'll guarantee he was watching film before he started looking at the camera there. Hey, Pat, how's it going?
Hey, buddy, how are you? Yeah, I'm watching some tape, man. NFL, who cares? I'm watching NAIA football on Sunday, man. Some really good ones yesterday. Yeah, I mean, you kind of look at the Division I slate yesterday. It's like all the big games were in week 0 or week 1, I guess, whatever you call it. And it's kind of the same way in the NAIA, but there were some good ones. Nothing like last week, but some really good ones to cover in a marquee matchup we have to get into pretty quickly here with Benedictine and the defending national champion Grandview.
Yeah, we had some great games this weekend, and we'll get into that. We'll talk about that. We've got game film breakdown. I watched some of the games live. I actually went to a game live this weekend as well, right here in the Fargo Metro, if you will. Mayville State played Concordia of Minnesota, D3 program. I normally, I've got a lot of things happening on the weekend between a 2-year-old, a wife, a house, another full-time job, all sorts of things. So I typically try not to travel on the weekend just because I've got a lot of things going on. But that game, literally 9 minutes from my house. So I kind of felt like I needed to be there to watch the Comets, who I thought were going to get a victory in this one. They played really well early on. Unfortunately, they lost to the D3 Concordia Cobbers. But Mayville State an improving program. I like what Coach Rocky Larson is doing there, and was really impressed by his team and just their demeanor on the sideline and everything there. So got to see some live football. But with that said, Pat, we should probably get into breaking down what's happened this weekend in NAIA football quickly with, some of the games that maybe weren't marquee matchups, but were certainly big games in NAIA football. And Siena Heights and St. Francis, man, Siena jumped out in a hurry in this one, Pat, 20-0 after the first quarter. But the old Cougs battling back. And, man, anytime you miss a field goal, the cliche thing to say is, well, that's going to come back and bite them. Siena Heights case, it really did come back to bite them in this one.
Jason, Siena Heights took the opening kickoff back and then rung the extra point off of the goalpost and out. So there you go. I really give credit to Siena Heights. The school is closing. I mean, it's been announced. This is the last year of everything at Siena Heights University, and what a great place. I mean, I've had the fortune to play there, coach there many, many times, and it's a beautiful place, and you really feel for that group. And, Coach Cohn took this group to, a perennial power, St. Francis down in Fort Wayne, down there from their perspective in Michigan. And I tell you what, they played a heck of a football game, Jason, and they really did. They came out firing again, huge play to start the game, and really battled and took control of this game. And then you saw that the tide turned. Again, St. Francis, I think, is a more talented roster overall. Got great quarterback play. I think Josh Kolka is tremendous. But yeah, I watched this game. I didn't get a chance to go in person. I watched it on the live stream. Got kid hockey stuff. It's hockey season anyway. But I tell you what, you got to give credit to Coach Sherman and the St. Francis Cougars, the resolve. And again, it's tough. I mean, they're down 20-0 and really getting outplayed, Jason. It's the kind of things not going their way. But you got to give them credit, the Cougars, to come back and find a way to win. And Coach Sherman's first win there at USF. So really good football game. And again, still kind of some sloppiness both sides. This was Siena Heights' first game. But again, St. Francis is a good football team. It's a good roster. I think that they're a work in progress in certain areas, but they're extremely talented up front on the defense. A great pass rushers, got great quarterbacks and pretty good weapons. And I think they're a work in progress in the offensive line, in the back end, the secondary and linebacking core. I think they're a work in progress, but I think it's a pretty good overall roster and a team that will be in contention for the Mid-States West, certainly.
Yeah, definitely. 211 yards passing from Kolka. Drew Wheat over 100 yards rushing in this one, 108 yards. So they were able to battle back, get this victory. The other one we had our eye on, Campbellsville and Weber International. This was the longest game on the schedule yesterday. Not from like they just threw the ball and extended play. There was a couple-hour lightning and rain delay at halftime in this one. And I watched the first half, and then I would get ready to go back to the second half. I'm like, what, I'm in the stream. What's going on? Get on X and go, oh, they're in a weather delay. And then was able to catch the last part of this. And I tell you what, Campbellsville, with the pure fact that they're not playing with their number one quarterback right now, I tell you, Jet Engel has come in and played really well. Granted, 4 interceptions yesterday and 2 touchdown passes, 231 yards. But he's playing well, and he's doing things that Campbellsville needs to do to win this ball game. Weber International offensively, and we kind of alluded to this last week in their win over Stetson. Their defense really helped them out there. Their offense really did not do anything in this ball game. Only 93 total yards against Campbellsville. And that's a home game that you're getting at Weber, coming off of a big victory over Stetson, and you only are able to muster 93 yards on offense. They've got a lot of work that they're going to need to do on that side of the ball. Campbellsville looked really good yesterday. They did all the things that you need to do as a program when you go on the road in a game like this. You get your offense going. Your defense is able to limit the opposing team. You have turnovers, but you're able to make sure that your opponent isn't able to capitalize on those turnovers. So a nice win for the Fighting Tigers here.
Jason, we're going to talk about this a lot. I think here now going into the second week of competition, we're seeing some teams that are legitimate, Jason. I think Campbellsville's one of them. To take the travel, again, about 5.5 hour trip to the north to play St. Francis and beat a good St. Francis team on their turf, and then take the trip down to Florida. I'm guessing that's probably 10, 12 hours, probably. I'm guessing from there, and do it again. That's impressive. With the backup quarterback. Again, Jet Engel goes back in and is productive. Again, turn the ball over a little bit, but it's it's kind of that type of offense, Jason. They're going to make plays, and it's kind of some risky type plays necessary, a little bit to some level with what they do. But I think you really have to pay attention to Campbellsville. And you predicted this, Jason, at some level. Again, we're not conference play yet, but them being a major factor in the Mid-South. And I tend to agree with you because these are two very, very impressive back-to-back wins, no question.
Yeah, and we'll get into the whole conference thing here in a little bit, but Campbellsville's looked really good. Lindsey Wilson's looks really good. Georgetown has come out. They're 2-0. This is kind of what we thought would happen in the Mid-South Conference. So very excited to get into their conference play. Also want to mention Trey Bass in this ball game. 145 yards on the ground, 57 yards receiving. He was one of those guys when I was coming up with my NAIA 99 for the athlete position. Strongly considered putting him in there because he's a dual threat guy, and he's been kind of that guy that can do it all for the Tigers. But we talk a lot about their offense. 93 yards allowed by the defense. That's pretty good when you go on the road, man.
Absolutely. Didn't even talk about their defense. Unbelievable. And again, I thought they did a great job a week ago, bottling up the run game of St. Francis. Hats gave up some passing yards, but I thought were tremendous in defending Drew Wheat. And look at Drew Wheat had 100 yards this year against a good Siena Heights defense. So I think Campbellsville is a team on the rise, Jason, without question. No question about it at all.
A little bit of a sloppy game, 8 total turnovers between the two teams in this one. So it was kind of one of those games for Campbellsville. You put it behind you. For Weber, you definitely got some things that you need to improve on. We move on to a game that we said, hey, here's another one to keep your eye on. Taylor and St. Francis of Illinois. These two squads battling it out. Taylor puts up 45 points in this ball game, comes away with a 45-28 victory. 42 of those 45 points in the first half. Really looked like they were going to run away with this. So credit to St. Francis battling in the second half, getting some points on the board. But Taylor, the much better team in this ball game, 441 yards of total offense. St. Francis, Illinois, 6 turnovers in this ball game. Nathan Parker, 20 carries, 108 yards. So real nice game for him and for the Taylor Trojans to get a victory after coming off of that OT loss last week to Olivet Nazarene.
Yeah, USF Illinois is replacing a lot, Jason. I think Coach Curry's kind of a little bit of a rebuild with that group this year, if I had to project. And again, you give them credit to, again, come back and make this competitive. I'm going to tell you, Jason, I think Taylor is a very, very good football team. I think last week you saw kind of similar type deal. They jump out to a huge lead against Olivet Nazarene, and just like this game, and just couldn't sustain it. And I think, looking at Taylor, what they have, they're physical. They're a great running team. They're a run-centric team. Again, kind of that spread option. Then we'll put the ball, when you use the run game primarily. They do have some passing game along with it, and they play strong defense. They run to the football well. They are physical. I think Taylor University, again, if there's a team in that Mid-States East to compete with Indiana Wesleyan, I think it's Taylor, and they're a good football team. And again, back-to-back weeks, Olivet's a good football team as well. OT game, they lose, come out this week, and put a pretty good. Beating on USF Illinois. So I think Taylor's for real once again. I think there could be somebody to keep an eye on for sure in the Mid-States East.
One thing I do want to point out when I build this deck that we're looking at, I'm looking at it on my computer screen, and it's usually on Sunday morning I'm putting it together, and I usually have a 2-year-old on my lap as I'm doing this, and she's playing with things and doing stuff. So sometimes editing isn't great. There is no such school as Mild Land. It's Midland. Sorry.
You even work there, bud.
I tell you, man, Joel Osborne also sent me a message because I had their score wrong on the website. I added 24-17, not 27-24. He's like, just want to make sure you got the right score. And I'm like, I'm an idiot. Okay, let's understand. This is a one-man editing crew, and his attention to detail is horrible. Let's talk about Midland and Hastings, buddy.
You got a lot going on, buddy. Again, this isn't your main job. Jason's in leadership in a big company, so there's a lot going on here, and you do tremendous work, buddy.
Yeah.
But yes, the Midland Warriors, who you, again, Jason, I tip my cap to you once again of really, you were anxious to see this game and see how Midland was going to be this season. And this is kind of going along the same lines of what I talked about with Campbellsville. I think Midland, again, put a really good effort to a good Division II program last week, lost in a close game, then come out this week and beat Hastings pretty handedly. So, I'm looking forward to where Midland goes from here, but they're a good football team, again, on that rise in the GPAC conference.
Yeah, the Warriors did a really good job. This is really, going into halftime, it could have been 3-3. Warriors got a late score, went up 10-3. That proves to be critical. We see Hastings get a score in the third quarter, but then in the fourth quarter, the Midland defense really got after Hastings. I was able to watch the fourth quarter of this game online, and they were getting a lot of pressure in the backfield. They were getting all over the Broncos, and then they were able to capitalize offensively. Got a really nice running back in Tyson Dinkert, ran for 106 yards on 23 carries, had himself a touchdown as well. They were able to sack Hastings 4 times in this ball game, but they had a lot of pressure going on the Broncos to get this 24-9 victory. A nice win for Midland, and so that now we start seeing maybe a little bit of that separation. All right, so Midland, above Hastings, but I still think Hastings is a ball club that is going to be in the middle of the GPAC and can improve. They've got to find a way to protect their quarterback if they are going to compete with the upper half of the GPAC. Ultimately, is what this comes down to. But a nice victory for the Warriors here as they improved to 1-1 after losing week 0 to Division II University of Mary, and the Broncos dropped to 1-1. Now we go to some more games that, maybe some familiar names and familiar faces. A team that I'm kind of still taking a wait and see approach with is College of Idaho. Quality program, great coaching, great athletes. Maybe didn't have the finish last year that we wanted them to have. I mean, we had high expectations that we thought last year this could be a team potentially competing for a national championship. It didn't happen, but they've started off 2-0 this year and picked up a nice victory over Rocky Mountain here, 37-20. Their new quarterback, Caden Young, 23 of 35 for 238 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had 111 yards on the ground, Pat. That's pretty nice to have that option at quarterback.
Sounds like Andy Peters part 2, maybe, dual threat quarterback. Yeah, College of Idaho is one of those teams, and we kind of talked about it a few weeks ago in our preseason, projection show. They're the one we want to keep our eye on for sure. Just like you said, they're one we're not real sure of yet, but back-to-back weeks playing good football. Again, we know this coaching staff has been there and done it. Made a push in the Final Four and making national championship games with the great Andy Peters. Again, no longer there, but they're getting some great quarterback play from Young. And the dual threat fashion once again. And this is a team, again, we talk about the depth of the Frontier Conference, and I think College of Idaho is one of those teams. Again, they've been there and done. That staff has done it, Jason. Again, it's just kind of developing the next round of players that are coming through that great program. And 2-0 start. You better keep an eye on those guys.
Did I think I messaged you about Andy Peters, and I hate to talk about former players when the great players that are there now that are getting it done, like Caden Young. He's the quarterback that we're talking about. He had a great game, but did I message you about Andy Peters? And he's still playing football. He's quarterbacking for St. Thomas FCS, graduate transfer.
Is that right? Yeah.
Good
for him. Yeah, he's a heck of a ball.
So I kind of caught that online. I was like, wait, what? And that happens so much to me right now. It's like, wait, hold on. That guy went Jaden Meisinger at Drake. Right. Harry Blake, Balky Blake, can't remember, the kicker from Benedictine. He's kicking for Drake. So, I mean, just these guys that bumped around the NAIA for years. Well, great win by College of Idaho. My Victory Sports Network NAIA top 25. I haven't finalized it yet, but I've got a spot or two at spots 24 and 25 where I could be making some changes, and I'm considering College of Idaho for that. Elsewhere, well, a game that we felt like, all right, we feel like St. Xavier, they've got a lot back on defense. Indiana Wesleyan's going to be coming off of a loss. Let's see what happens in this game. And St. Xavier got that 3-0 lead early on, but then Indiana Wesleyan did Indiana Wesleyan things at home and ended up coming away with a 31-3 victory here, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, Wesleyan had such a great game last week, and it could have gone either way against Kaiser. I think Indiana Wesleyan, top 6 team, I think they're certainly deserving of that. Got a great roster, a staff that's been there and done it. Kind of developing the quarterback position, but they've got some great weapons in the backfield, in the receiving core, at tight end, and they have a good defense. And I think this is a team, just trying to build that consistency where they've been so strong early season the last handful of years, of continuing that. And again, they dropped a game against a great Kaiser team in a 1-score game, come back out another home game against a perennial team like St. Xavier's always seemed to be in contention, and put a pretty good beating on them. And Wesleyan is one of those teams where I think if they can keep that consistency, stay healthy, doing those things, playing the way that they're capable of, certainly, you just got to think they've got to make a deep run. And they've been in the Final 8. I get all that. but I'm talking really competing for a national championship. They're one of those teams. They're so close to that. Again, a bounce here and there, puts them in that contention because they've got the roster, they've got the coaching staff to do it. It's one of those places they're just so close to break through and really, really make a true national championship run. But pretty good win right there.
And granted, they're a new program. They don't have a lot of history in college football, but you know who they remind me of, Pat, just in the process of their program, kind of where their respect level is nationally, what you expect out of them. They remind me of Morningside circa 2005 to about 2012. They were always there. We're always talking about them. Maybe this year's the year they get that big upset in the regular season. All right. And then, they just haven't quite got there yet as a program to go from, hey, you're in the top 8. Oh, now you're in the top 4. Okay. Now you're in the national championship contention. So they're right there. And at any moment, it could be their moment to step up and be that team.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. Again, they're so similar because of Coach Rhodey being with Coach Ryan at Morningside and the head coach at Indiana Wesleyan. They look very similar offensively, certainly, from that standpoint. But I agree with you. It's a very similar type school, and I completely agree. A little better facilities than Indiana Wesleyan. I love the folks in Sioux City. It's a beautiful place, but man, what a facility! Wesleyan may be the best in the NAIA, arguably. They got some things cooking down there south of me, where I'm sitting here now. But yeah, they've got a breakthrough. I mean, they're at the point now. This is probably year 8 of the program. I want to say 8 or 9, maybe they've been around. 8 years, I think it sounds right. And they're awfully close. And again, they have the potential of doing great things. They just got to consistently do it throughout a 12 game stretch, 14 game stretch potentially. You get down to the final 2. So they can do it. I think, Jason, I really do. And I think they have again the personnel to do it. Just got to do it. Got to prove it.
Got to keep stacking up these wins, staying healthy, and then, playing good football at the right times. All right, we move on. A couple more featured games here. Reinhardt and Cumberland. This was one that we knew in the Reinhardt schedule. It was a tough go for them. Cumberland having a very tough start to their season as well in terms of schedule, playing an FCS school and then going up against Reinhardt. This was a ball game that really came down to about the last possession for Reinhardt. It was 24-18 late in this ball game. Reinhardt able to get a defensive stop, gets the ball back. They go to start their drive, and they throw a pick 6, and that was the ball game right then and there. The Eagles weren't able to come back from that. I believe they had like a minute 6 left or minute 11 left in the ball game at that point. So Reinhardt battled with Cumberland, but Cumberland, big credit to the Phoenix coming away with this victory. Running back Jacob Cornejo, 115 yards. Reinhardt had 3 turnovers in this. And you can look at the total offense there, 268 to 250. It wasn't a game where offenses were blazing. Those turnovers in a game like this obviously proven to be crucial.
Yeah, pretty evenly matched teams. It comes down to who protects the ball better. I mean, that's what it comes down to in a game like this. And these two teams, I want to continue to follow closely because there's something there with both of them. I think Reinhardt's, again, just where they're located, Jason. You see the speed, you see the talent that they have in that program. And you watch them on film, you're like, yeah, dudes. And Cumberland the same way. I just kind of want to see where they progress from here because Cumberland, I know it's an FCS school. They've got more scholarships. They got throttled pretty well. But you give them credit to come out and play, a good Reinhardt team and win a game like this. But at the same time, like Reinhardt plays well last week, sloppy this week. I want to see kind of where they are because I know both of these teams have talented football teams. So I really want to see, weeks 3 and 4, coming up down the pike here to see how they maybe respond, to this. Again, Cumberland's kind of build momentum after this big win, after getting beaten a guarantee game, I'm sure, by an FCS. How can they build off of this victory? And can Reinhardt respond? Because again, they have talent. There's no question about it. There's coaches on that coaching staff that have played at high level, played in coached in national championship games. So I'm anxious to see kind of how both these teams respond from this game.
Moving on to the next featured game that we've got here, Southwestern and Tabor. We knew that Tabor was going to give Southwestern everything they wanted in this ball game, and they did. 28-21 final. Southwestern gets the victory, but they didn't score until 1:11 remaining to get up 28-21. And then Tabor got the ball back with 1:11 left, drove down the field, got to the 28-yard line, threw a ball towards the end zone, and it got picked with just a couple seconds left down at the 3-yard line. And that is how Southwestern was able to get this victory. Their quarterback, Jamie Odom, 317 yards, 4 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. Tabor had their opportunities potentially win this ball game and knock off a rated team, but Southwestern comes away with the victory. In the other half of the KCAC that Tabor is playing in, I had them preseason number 2, and this doesn't make me doubt that at all, because Southwestern's a really good team. They're going to be competing for the conference title in their half, so Tabor going to be right there and could be a contender in the KCAC.
Jason, we're going to talk about another KCAC team here momentarily. But I tell you what, Jason, this conference is real. I'm they were the much maligned KCAC for so many years, pretty much the time that you and I were involved in the NAIA back in the early 2000s. Always like, it's a KC. Jason, this is a good league. I'm telling you. I mean, Tabor, I know Mike Gardner well, coached against Coach Gardner. The mad scientist, I mean, that guy is so good in his scheme, and again, forcing 3 turnovers. I'm guessing, Jason, I did not watch this game, but I'm guessing Southwestern's probably a little more talented than Tabor, but I'm telling you what, Coach Gardner with a scheme and his players believing in what they're trying to do there at Tabor, put together a great contest and compete down to the last seconds, like you said. And this conference, again, it's deep. We'll talk about friends here in a minute, but my goodness, there's some good football teams that are legitimate in this conference, and they have certainly progressed in the last 15 years to be that way. There's depth. I mean, there's some good football teams, and you got to tip your cap to those coaches and programs in the KCAC of really, I mean, again, being legitimate contenders in the NAI level. They haven't been for a long time.
It's solid coaching all around. Brad Griffin for Southwestern, hell of a coach. I mean, these guys, they've got guys that have been there. They've got guys with tenure. The news guys coming in, they're not some guy that just got promoted, within and doesn't have any experience. I mean, they've got some solid coaching, and it's really become an exciting conference to watch week over week. All right, we move on. Let's get into the big featured games and some of the ones that we went, holy cow, what the heck happened here? That would be this game, as Peru State comes out week 0, loses to Oklahoma Panhandle State 10-9. And I said, all right, let's see how they respond. Well, they did. 31-17 winner over a 16th rated Baker University Wildcat team. This was a heck of a win for Peru State. They haven't had many wins in the last couple of years over rated teams. So this is one that gets them back on track, gets them evened up at 1-1, and is definitely excited for the Bobcats. Now, for the Wildcats, Baker, on the other hand, definitely not the game that they wanted to come out and start their season with, especially from a turnover perspective. 4 interceptions in this game. Those all resulted in 17 points for the for the Bobcats in this one. Definitely not the game that Truman Jules Garden Company wanted to see from their offense as they lose this one on the road.
Yeah, we're seeing a consistent, formula here. If you turn the football over, good luck. Will the real Peru, football teams please stand up? Is it last week or is it this week? I mean, this is kind of like, oh man, I saw it score. Yeah. Something had to happen. And again, barely muster up any offense last week and drop a game. And then this week, really, again, capitalizing on turnovers and putting points on the board. But, we had high hopes for Peru State. We really did.
Yep.
And I really want to see is, which Peru State are we dealing with here? Who is the real Peru State? And I think this is obviously a marquee win for them against a good Baker team that's been a playoff team. And, for Baker, from their perspective, they got to tighten things up. Jules Gard's a good player, Jason. I mean, he's a guy that we've had our eye on now for a few seasons and a good player. And, again, I did not get a chance to see this because we need to get the huddle tape. I hope I get it here. I want to watch a little bit more of, maybe some of the decision-making and the way the ball was turned over by Jules Gard, because I know he's a good player. And some things they got to tighten up. It gets early season. A lot of things can happen. But I know these two teams are pretty darn good. But I want to see again, who is Peru State? Which team is it that we saw last week, or the team that really came out and played an exceptional home game yesterday?
Yeah, Adrian Seals for Baker did have himself a real nice game, 6 receptions, 150 yards, had a real nice touchdown, early on to get Baker up in this game. And it did look like, very early on, hey, we're going to have a pretty evenly matched team, or evenly matched game. Peru just pulled away, took advantage of those turnovers. And, like you said, Pat, turnovers definitely being key in this one. CJ Dixon kind of pulling dual duty for the Wildcats in this one, 169 yards through the air, score 2 touchdowns on the ground for 53 yards. Real nice game from Dixon in this one to get the win for the Bobcats. And now we just kind of wait and see how these teams are going to play things out over the next couple weeks. We go on to the nightcap from last night, the big one up in Helena. We had Montana Tech go into Helena, go into Nelson Stadium, and get themselves a 30-19 victory, much on the back of running back Wykeese Johnson again. 34 carries, 178 yards, 3 touchdowns. If there's anything we know about Tech football, they're going to put a running back in the backfield that's going to carry the ball a bunch and is going to carry them to a victory, and that's what happened in this ball game as Montana Tech got physical up front, and they were able to get this victory.
I hate being a broken record. Montana Tech is a good football team, Jason. 2 weeks in a row, they've proven it. And I will say, I think Wykeese Johnson is one of the best players in the NAIA already.
Yeah.
The guy is like 6'1", 215, 220. I mean, he's kind of like the throwback type running back where he's athletic, he's got speed, but he is a guy that is big and durable as well. Can run in between the tackles, has speed to break to the outside, so good in short yards. He's a big, strong guy, big lower half, strong. He's fun to watch. I mean, he's a guy that you want. It's must-see TV when the Ore Diggers are playing, because that guy is a special player. And they do such a nice job as a Montana Tech of really obviously showcasing him, being the focal point of what they do, then have complementary pieces off of it. I think this is a very good football team. I think they've got some weapons. I think they play strong defense. I think Carroll College is a good football team. I just think Montana Tech right now is one of those teams in the Frontier Conference. You're like, they got something going here. 2 back-to-back, very, very impressive wins. They play so hard, Jason. They're physical. They play hard. I am very, very impressed with Coach Sampson's team in the 2 games that we have watched thus far this season. And again, it's one of those teams, like, they're fun to watch. You want to schedule, what's your schedule on Saturday? You want to watch the Montana Tech Ore Diggers because they're a heck of a team to watch. They're fun to watch, especially this Wykeese Johnson.
They definitely have been, and it was an enjoyable game to watch. If you're, unbiased like us, just out there watching for good football. If you're a Carroll College fan, you did not like this game because you hate losing to Tech. It's the 4th straight loss that Carroll College has had to Montana Tech. So that's something that they definitely want to see go the other way. On the Carroll College side, we got a chance to kind of see what Caden Hewitt could do. 166 yards, 3 touchdowns. Did throw 1 interception in this ball game. I didn't take much stock into last week's game against MSU Northern just because, first game of the season. Yeah, they won 20-0, but did we really get to see, a lot of the Saints because that was going to be on film for Montana Tech to break down? I think we saw a little bit more of them this week, and I like what I see. They've got some things that need to gel together. They've got to pull some things together, got some things they need to clean up on the offensive line. The defense played pretty well, but there's some things they've got to clean up there. So again, like you mentioned, Pat, this is a really good Carroll College football team. There's going to be 1-1. They lost to their rival, and now we get to see the fun of the Frontier Conference, what sort of havoc that they can cause in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and then what sort of havoc Montana Tech will cause. And then we haven't talked about Southern Oregon. We haven't talked about some of the other great teams in this conference. I mean, there's a lot of good football yet to be played in the Frontier. So it's a big game because it was a big rivalry. It was Tech Carroll, but it is week 1 football, 2nd game of the year. We can temper our expectations a bit, and we don't need to crown any champions for either conference or national championships after this one. But a great game played by Tech. Carroll College, still a solid football team.
Jason, I would put a large bet that Carroll College knocks off a good football team in that league this year. I mean, a team that's up there. I think they're that quality, and I think they're again, very, very good football team. But Montana Tech's going places, Jason. I'm very impressed.
We move on to the biggest game from the weekend. It was the Urban Edge Network and AI Clash of the Week. They were live in Des Moines, Iowa. They had the pregame show through the Hart Conference in the Urban Edge Network. They did all the things, and it turned out to be exactly what we thought it would be, a great football game between two great football teams. We had Benedictine come into this ball game riding high off of a win over Morningside. And, early on in this game, it was a little bit of a stalemate. Grandview did get out to that 14-7 halftime lead. I did watch a good majority of this game, and there were some stark differences, I thought, between this and the Morningside game. And I'm not at all speaking down to Benedictine, but I never got the feeling in watching this game and watching what Grandview was doing defensively and offensively that Benedictine was really going to be able to take control. They were moving the ball. They were getting it up and down the field, but turnovers killed them as well. And it just seemed like you get in a game like that and you say, yeah, this is what Grandview does. Grandview's going to get a turnover. They're going to capitalize on that turnover. And that's exactly what they did, in this ball game.
A couple of things here, Jason. First off, congratulations to Coach E.J. Peterson, first victory there, first game he's coached in at the Grandview Vikings. Jason, defensively, I watch Grandview. They've got such good players. Filer is a player, man. Man, is he a good player. Those linebackers are tremendous. They don't do a lot, Jason, in that schematically. They kind of sit in their base defense, but they run exceptionally well. They compete so hard, and they're ball hawks. I mean, the linebacking core getting under routes from the secondary guys. They will jump routes. They're so sound in what they do, and that pass rush is effective enough to throw off timing where the ball may come out just a second earlier than what that offense needs. But I mean, when they create turnovers, Jason, they create turnovers. I mean, for instance, early on, had a turnover Jacksonville, and I thought he played a pretty good game. I do against a great defense.
Yeah.
But just an opportunistic play where a Grandview secondary player just jumps in front, makes a miraculous interception, and now Grandview's cooking inside the 25-yard line, going in and score. Get a touchdown off of it. Benedictine drives the field the next possession, converts on a long third down, like third 16 after a penalty or something like that. Grandview player comes and strips the ball at the 5-yard line as Benedictine's going inside the 5-yard line to put a score in to tie it up. Grandview gets the football back. So, I mean, that right there, there's two scores, Jason, that were significant in this game. You look at the final score, but that's Grandview football. I mean, again, playing so hard on defense, opportunistic, going to make plays, going to strip, a ball carrier, going to make a miraculous interception, jumping a route. That's what they do. And again, pass rush. They're so good. I want to commend Filer. I watched him, Jason, a lot in this game. It's like that guy's must-see TV too. I mean, that guy's a player and so exceptional. And then the other side of it, Grandview's changed a little bit offensively, Jason. They're under center a lot. And the reason they're doing that is they're taking some wear and tear off of wearing. Wear and tear off wearing?
Wear and tear off?
Yeah, something like that.
I
love it. I love it. I think it's awesome. They're under center. It's like, 11 personnel, so one tight end in a tailback. And it's inside outside zone. It's bootlegs, moving a launch point for him, kind of his strong suit of being on the move on the perimeter. So good at that. And then they're still in the gun enough, passing situations. And they do some of that +1 running game too when it matters, like short yards and red zone. They're going to use Waring as a primary runner, but very, very smart in their approach. And I tell you what, Jason, the big thing in this game that I saw, in addition to Grandview's tremendous defense and opportunistic defense, is Grandview is so good up front. My goodness.
Yeah.
Talking about a push in the offensive line. I mean, you're talking the zone scheme. You're seeing movement of a very good Benedictine team. And there's movement from those red jerseys on the zone scheme. And Van Pelt, had tons and tons of running room, and Waring and at times, did the same thing. And then the complementary passing game off of that great run scheme, the play action game, things of that nature. They do a great job of getting Toki moved around and get him opportunities open off play action. So I am very impressed with defending national champions and their approach, both sides of the football. Fun game to watch. And that's a tough task for Benedictine back-to-back weeks. I don't care, Jason, who the heck you are. That's tough. I still think Benedictine's a top 4 or 5 program in this affiliation, no question. I think Jackson Dooley's a great football player. I think Gorgie's awesome to watch. They've got some dudes, man. I think this is a fun team, good team. I don't expect Benedictine to drop another one. I just don't. I think they're going to run the table from here on out. And Grandview is Grandview, and they're smart the way they're deploying their players, and they just play so hard, and smart football team. So these are two of the best, no question, Jason, that I have seen, without question.
How juiced would you be as a coach? And granted, you don't want to be 1-1. You would love to come out of this, 2-0 if you're Joel Osborne and staff at Benedictine. But to be 1-1 out of playing the number 4 team or 3 team in the country, depending on the poll that you look at, and playing the number 1 team, and only losing to the number 1 team by 3 points, how juiced would you be this early in the season, be able to get that sort of test in back-to-back weeks really early to say, okay, this is where we've got to build. This is what we've got to do from here. We saw the best of the best, and now we know what we've got to do to make sure in weeks 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, into the postseason, into the playoffs and all that we're going to be ready for them. I think from a coaching perspective, it gives a huge advantage to the Ravens as long as, they stay focused the rest of the year when they're playing some teams that they probably could beat the doors off of.
No, I totally agree. And then, Coach Osborne, such a good young coach, is going to have examples of guys. We're so close. I mean, 2 turnovers this game. Yeah, I know we had, I think it was just 2 turnovers, 3 turnovers total. And then the field goal. I think really you can trace back 17 points in this game, Jason, directly related to Benedictine turnovers. And they're great plays. I'm not saying it's like, well, Jackson Dooley made an awful decision. The ball's thrown. No. It was great plays by the Grandview defense, without question. That's what I'm saying. But at the same time, there's some things to tighten up and evaluate and learn from to say, guys, look how close we are. This is defending national champion. I still think it's the best defense in the country. I'm not sure it's even close. I think it's the best defense that they'll see all season. And we just put up 24 points, guys, and we had turnovers. One in the red zone inside the 5-yard line going in. So, I mean, there's some things to build on. Yes, you don't want to sit there and say, well, I'm sure it stings. Obviously, you lost a tight football game, but there's things to build from and learn from to say, guys, we're real close. This is the top dog here, and look how close. Look at this example, this play, and we come out with a victory. Period. And I don't think that's far fetched to say. I think Grandview played a great game, but I think Benedictine's awfully close to be at that level without question.
Two guys I want to give flowers to, I guess, or give praise to, whatever we want to say. Two guys I just want to point out real quick before we move on from this game. Tanner Zimmerman, Benedictine, great game. One of the best tight ends in NAIA football, had 2 scores in this game. Really did a nice job getting up the field, making some catches. He's had a good season so far already this year. Real nice at the tight end. And on the other side, Aisha Toki, I mean, I feel like he stepped into a role. Like last year, he was a pretty good wide receiver. And I feel like this year, and it's one game, what am I talking about? But I feel like we're starting to see him step into the like elite wide receiver conversation in NAIA football. And, with 6 catches, 96 yards and 2 scores, I mean, that gets you in the argument.
No question. I think both those guys are great players. And Zimmerman, I like what they do. Benedictine with Zimmerman, they kind of move him around. He's not always, the end man, line scrimmager and H-back. He's in the slot. They move him around. He runs a lot of advanced routes, meaning, stuff down the field that you don't see tight ends typically run. So I love his versatility. And I agree with you, Jason. He had a tremendous game. And Toki, you're spot on. I think he's a true wide receiver 1 where he's going to be moved around and he's the focal point in the progression of the concept. Like you could see that you see what's selling it at Morningside, where he's a guy that, he's the teddy bear, for that quarterback for wearing. That's the guy we want to get the football to. And he does such a good job. He attacks zone so well, finds spaces, he kind of settles down. Then he's that guy too, those combat catches when the ball's thrown in the air, he's going to get one. He's a big physical guy. So, I think he's just like you said, I completely agree. He's kind of emerging into that all-American type, top 5, 4 or 5 wide receiver in the NAIA. I completely agree. And awesome game by Zimmerman too. Great tight end, without question. Great game.
Top 5 matchup. Couldn't ask for anything better for the first 2 weeks of the season. Let's run through what happened in the top 25 real quick from everybody else. Morningside got the victory over the rival Briar Cliff, 58-17. Montana Western got all over Montana State University. Northwestern was idle this week. St. Thomas got all over Fort Lauderdale, 55-7. Georgetown, 48-0 over Rio Grande. Texas Wesleyan did not play. Friends got all over Avila in a game where, again, they ran the football a whole lot, 62-7. They keep doing what Friends does there to keep getting those victories. Mid-American Nazarene did beat Culver Stockton 47-28, probably more points than what the Pioneers would like to give up in that ball game. Ottawa University, Arizona gets their first win of the season with a 49-7 victory over Wayland Baptist. Dort all over Dakota Wesleyan. I checked into this game a little bit because I've been interested to see how Dort's doing. And Dort's doing just fine. They're doing Dort things, 66-7 in this victory here. And then rounding out the rest of the top 25, Concordia was able to beat Doane 35-7. Southern Oregon did lose to Division II Western Oregon. Again, I'm always rooting for the NAIA schools. I did pick Southern Oregon in this one, but talking to a couple people and seeing some clips and looking at the statistics, just Western Oregon, pretty good D2 program there that Southern Oregon was not able to really compete with the way that they wanted to. Marion got the victory over Lawrence Tech, and that rounds out all the games. We've talked about all of them there, Pat. That's a look at the top 25. Any games of interest that I went through there real quick that you want to speak on real quick?
No, not really. I think we covered everything. Of course, I was rooting for Southern Oregon. No, I think it's kind of, what we expected, the ones we covered that were the surprises. We talk about Peru State and some games like that, Campbellsville. But yeah, I think, again, we talked about a year ago, we kind of previewed things, a few weeks ago. I think the NAIA, the affiliation in general, is deep. I really do. Like we've got some good quality teams, and looking at these weekly matchups, there's some more good ones coming up. There's still more interconference games, probably one more week. Then we're going to jump into conference as we get into, mid-September. So, there's some good ones coming up. No question about it, man. Looking forward to a lot of good games. I know you're zooming in here.
Don't mind me trying to get my camera to refocus here for whatever reason it doesn't want to. Yeah, let's just do that, and then make it snap back to me.
Didn't do it.
We're still not there. Technical difficulties is what we see. I just got to be this close. Yeah, the people really want that. Let's talk NAIA football. It's terrible. Games of the week. Let's see if we can get this thing to refocus. Slowly but surely, it'll come back. Don't mind me.
Because you're so thin. You've lost so much weight. They're just not used to not seeing a chubby face on there. You're so svelte.
Yes, I have been able to drop quite a few pounds. I did finally come out like publicly and say that this is going to drive me nuts, Pat. This is going to drive me freaking nuts. Maybe I got it.
No,
maybe not. I got another option here too. I got to look for a switch. This is what we deal with, maybe.
Live podcasting, folks.
Live podcasting. Can't get a camera to, maybe if I just move it around here a little bit. Oh, look. Hey, look, there's my basement. And I swear to God, I'm going to start throwing things, Pat. It's going to drive me nuts. Let's talk about some games. What if we switch back to this? Nope, still nothing. I love it. We're going to keep going. People don't need to see.
It's like 1983.
I did come out and you mentioned it there and finally make a public post. I technically have lost 100 pounds now. Granted, that's from when I was at my absolute max back in 2013, but from 335 down to 235, almost back to playing weight. Checked in at 229 this last week, which I have not seen since 2005.
Incredible. Good for you, man. Happy for you. And yeah, I like food. I got to not like food so much. It's my problem. And I'm a hell of a cook, Jason. I full disclosure, I am quite the chef. I think you're, we got it. You're focused, I think.
Yeah, I just got to be somewhat close here. I think I need a new camera. All right, let's talk about the games of the week. And see if I can slowly keep myself in focus here. So here's the big games happening this week, Pat. We've got William Penn and Baker, Evangel and Southwestern, Missouri Baptist at Grandview, Graceland at Benedictine, Northwestern at Mount Marty, and Bethel, Tennessee, going down to Kaiser and playing in a big game. What's one of these six here? And we've got what do we got? I think 10 games. We're gonna talk about here real quick. Like, which one of these intrigues you the most from this page?
There's two. I want to see how Baker responds playing William Penn. Baker, again, the turnovers. Jules Gard's a good player, and I want to see how he responds in the Wildcat football team. I want to see how they respond. And I'm telling you what, Jason, Benedictine, what a friggin' start. 3 teams in a row that are good football teams, and Graceland's the next challenge for them. I mean, Morningside to Grandview, now Graceland. Graceland's that team like we talked about, Jason. Are they in contention with Peru State of really, pushing Grandview to some level in the Hart Conference? I want to call it America, the Hart Conference. So I'm anxious to see that one too, just because, 3 straight weeks that Benedictine's had to play a quality team. Boy, if they ever needed a bye, it's now. And they're playing Graceland. That's going to be a tough one, for the Ravens.
I look at, I look at William Penn and Baker as well. How does Baker respond? William Penn has played 2, pretty good games to start the season. They're sitting undefeated. They've got a real nice running game that they've got going there for the Statesmen. And like you mentioned, it's kind of one of those bounce back games. We've got Evangel and Southwestern, 2 quality teams in the KCAC going up against one another. This will be one of those games where it's tough to predict. Who do you go with? Maybe the home team in Southwestern, but how do they come off of a close victory against Tabor, and then Evangel really wanted to get things going for them. I look at Missouri Baptist at Grandview, and I don't mention this so much as I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. Grandview should win this football game, but I think Missouri Baptist has improved quite a bit the last couple years, and they've got a win to start the season. This is a game to see. All right, let's gauge how much better Missouri Baptist has gotten these last couple years. And, is it a 40-point blowout, or can they keep it within a couple scores, or can they challenge them? That's why I'm interested in that game. And then in the same vein, is Northwestern at Mount Marty. Mount Marty had a winning season last year. They've started off this year undefeated, sitting 2-0 right now. So now they're going to get Northwestern at home, and maybe a game that they can challenge the Red Raiders a little bit. And a game a couple of years ago that was a 3, 4, 5 score game. Now is it a 1-score game? Do they get an opportunity, in the fourth quarter to compete and potentially win? So that's why I'm looking at that game. And then obviously Bethel going down to Kaiser anytime we've got a great non-conference game in NAIA football. Bethel did lose this last week to Mary Hardin Baylor, a quality Division III program. But now they're going to go on the road again and get a chance to play a really good NAIA program in Kaiser and be able to gauge Coach Springer and what he has done, in the offseason to get this program, back on track with Bethel. So I think we've got some really good ones on this page, Pat.
Totally agree. Yeah, I think there's some probably not the marquee games we saw a week ago, but there's still some quality games and some interesting storylines. Certainly.
Yeah, 100%. And remaining, we got Pikeville at Campbellsville. That's going to be a real nice challenge for the Fighting Tigers and for the Bears in this one. Reinhardt goes back to Florida. They play Southeastern, the Fire, a team that's in the top 25, and Reinhardt trying to get back on track after that loss to Cumberland. You got Tabor going to McPherson, and you've got Missouri Valley at Peru State. And I put this up there because Missouri Valley early on struggles against Clark this week. They're actually down early in that game. They come back and they get the victory. So maybe a little bit of that mentality that Peru State had with Oklahoma Panhandle State, except for Missouri Valley was able to get the win. Now, how does Peru come back after a big victory against a rated team like Baker to compete against a quality program, like Missouri Valley? So some interesting games on this slate as well.
No question. So I think Pikeville and Campbellsville are very interesting. Campbellsville's finally at home. They're probably, this is great. We don't have to travel to Indiana or Florida this week. This is fantastic. Talk about offense. This is going to be, the scoreboard's going to be lit up here. A lot of production offensively. I think this is going to be an exciting game. I think this is a game definitely to watch. If you love offense, it's going to be a lot of fun to see. Reinhardt at Southeastern is interesting to me because this game in theory should be a very close one. But I bet it's not, Jason. I have a feeling Southeastern is going to take control of this game. I think they are definitely on the rise. It might be controversial. I can put some bulletin board material up for Reinhardt. I can't figure them out. I think we talked about it a lot. I just have a feeling, Southeastern's going to control this game. It should be close. It should be very, very competitive. It should be one of the marquee games in the NAIA. I don't know what's going on with Reinhardt. It's a tough stretch. There's no doubt. There's a tough schedule. It's a tough schedule. This is certainly another one. Add that to the list. It should be a close game, but I have a feeling Southeastern is going to take control of this game, Jason. I just have a strange feeling about it.
Yeah. How does Reinhardt's defense respond in this game, and how does Southeastern's offense perform? Because I think Southeastern's defense is quality. I think their offense the last couple of years maybe has struggled when they played better competition. So I think for the Fire, the key for them early in this season is to get that offense going, have the defense compete and play the way that it has so well over the last couple of years. Keep that aspect of your game going. But what are they going to do offensively? And I'm like you, Pat. If that offense does get rolling and the Reinhardt defense doesn't step up, it could be a game where we see quite a bit of separation. But Reinhardt maybe had the mindset of, hey, we dropped a game to Cumberland that we shouldn't have lost. We've got to go down Southeastern and really put up a good performance here. I think, and I've got the two questions down here. Best games, biggest surprises as we kind of look at this slate. I think in terms of the best game in NAIA football this week, Pikeville, Campbellsville, and Reinhardt Southeastern, I think, are the best games in NAIA football. Maybe not the biggest games, but hey, in terms of how it's going to be competitive at the end of the day, and what we're going to learn from it, those are the games that I'm probably looking at the most.
Completely agree. Again, if you like offense, the first one you mentioned, Pikeville and Campbellsville, the Tigers and the Bears are going to be running up and down the field, man. It's going to be fun. Throwing the football, again, the run game with Campbellsville, good balance what they do with their RPO game. And like you said, and we talked about before, I think Reinhardt and Southeastern on paper should be a great football game. And I hope that it is. And I would love to see Reinhardt put their best forth their best effort after dropping a game that, again, I wouldn't have predicted or made that bet they lose a game to Cumberland. So I want to see how they respond. I think it's a good team, good coaching staff, but But again, it's one of those long trips again, and got to go perform against a quality team in a hostile environment. Again, what a great environment Southeastern is for a home game. So I would agree. Those are the two best games I think to watch. Find a way to watch them, folks. They're gonna be good.
Tabor at McPherson's got me interested because McPherson has played really well these last couple of years. They get a chance maybe to add another win to their total, but Tabor's going to be coming off of that 28-21 loss that they just had to Southwestern. So I'm a little intrigued by that matchup and what that's going to be in the KCAC. So of all these games, Pat, what do you think is the biggest surprise that we could potentially see happen that you think could legitimately happen out of these 10 or so games?
I think the Mount Marty Northwestern game could be close.
Yeah.
And I also think just because of the situation, I think the world of Benedictine College. I do. I think they're fantastic. Great football team. I think they're a Final Four team, in my opinion. If I had to put my Final Four together right now, they'd be in it. Watch that game just because 3 in a row. I think Graceland can move the football. They've got some firepower. I think it's one of those things where it's like 3 weeks in a row getting up for big football games is really challenging. You're seeing it in the Big Ten. You're seeing it in the SEC. This reminds me of that at our level where it's like, again, you're playing 2 national powers, and then you're playing Graceland, who's kind of that team on the rise, who's scary. So, that may be a little closer than what people would predict. I'm guessing if, Vegas is running a spread, that's probably a 14 to 17 point probably spread if I had to guess, Benedictine being a top 4 team. But I bet Graceland could cover that, is what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm not saying they're going to win this game, but I think it may be like, oh, that's a 27-17 game? Wow. Okay, interesting. Something like that, maybe along those lines. So I think that might be something that could be interesting.
Yeah, you check out this game halfway through the second quarter and like Graceland's up 17-14. A little surprising, and I'm with you on that. I think that could be a surprise. If Bethel would have went to Mary Hardin Baylor this week and got a victory, I would have said they're, at Kaiser, this team, they could, but I think that's going to be a good game, but I think Kaiser, especially what we saw them do on the road with Indiana Wesleyan, I think they're going to be well prepped, ready to go for this game. Evangel Southwestern, I kind of skipped over that one. I was saying, best games for this week. That's going to be a really good game as well in the KCAC. So, and then obviously interested because I want to see how Baker responds, after losing this last week. So that's a look at the featured games for this week. Any final thoughts on those, Pat?
No, like you said, Tabor's interesting to me because I want to see how they respond. They had such a great effort yesterday, and I think the role of Coach Gardner in that program, the way they're going, and that's a big game for them to respond. And losing a tough one, what type of character do you have? And I'm sure that Coach Gardner is hitting those things and getting them that group to respond. So, and there's a couple games like that. Baker the same way. I think Baker. Again, Jules Carr's a heck of a player. And again, there's some mistakes that were made, and, got to learn from those mistakes in the early season and progress. And, I think they could come out and really, really perform well against William Penn just because of the situation. But like you said, William Penn 2-0, they've got some confidence, strong running game. It's going to be an interesting contest as well. So there are some interesting matches. We don't have Benedictine and Grandview, Jason, this week. Yeah. But we do have some pretty good games that are definitely worth watching, certainly.
It's that week that just reminds me, like, you look at the schedule and like, oh, there's not a bunch of top 25 matchups. There's not a really like one big game, whatever. And this is the week where it's like, oh, that upset happened. Oh, that upset happened. Oh, we didn't look at that. We didn't even talk about that game. Look what happened there. I think that's what next Sunday's show will be, is you and I looking at one another going, hey, man, did you see the blah, 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 blah? Whoa, how about that? So I think that's what we're looking forward to, next week. With that said, that's what Pat and I have to say on NAIA football. It gets us into a segment of a couple minutes of what we like to call overtime, which is where Pat and I just talk about anything in general. Maybe it's football related, maybe it's not, but it's him and I catching up. So you got anything for me, buddy?
Well, your travel was a lot easier this week, right?
Yes.
Not making trips to Saskatoon up there and Saskatchewan and all that. Yeah. To move time there. Yeah. So you didn't have to do that and then drive to Kansas City on a Friday. I mean, you look at the map. Like, I went back, and I'm a geography nerd. I love maps. I always have. I was a little kid. I'm like, that's a long way. Like, I know enough. It's like, that's got to be, was that like probably 1,200 miles probably, I'm guessing, total? Then back to Fargo. That was significant. Yeah. I started thinking about, I'm like, that's up there. Look at a map, folks, and look where Saskatoon is. It's up there.
Yeah.
They have, moose and elk and stuff running through town. So, I mean, you're up there. So yeah, a little easier week from your standpoint of not bringing heavy machinery across the border of Canada, the United States. So easier for you,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's not as challenging.
Yeah, not as challenging, and my body definitely feels a lot better this week after the first couple days of the week went by, and it's like, oh, I'm not in a car driving constantly. So this week it was much more chill than what the last week was. Got a few things done around the house, changed out 2 headlights on my old black truck because one of them went bad, and it's like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and replace that other one too before it goes out as well.
Now, how old's this truck? Is this like your old farm truck?
Yeah, this is the 81 Chevy K10.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We call her Black Beauty.
Yeah.
Drive to work every day.
Do you still? That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, if you need to find me, just follow the trail of oil because it's got a rear main seal leak on it that I'm never going to fix. I've learned about every third time that I fill up with fuel, put a quart of oil in it, she's fine. And I don't have to get the oil changed in it. It just slowly filters itself out over time.
I'm not saying I'm a guy that knows a lot about farming or anything about farming, because I certainly don't. I've been on a farm a couple of times. I didn't like the smell. I wanted to leave. True story. But I will say I've coached quite a few farmers being in Indiana as long as I have. And first off, great work ethic, awesome dudes. I love farmers as football players. But it seems like there's a trend, and you're fulfilling this. Even, you're an older guy compared to the kids that I've recruited and coached. But they all have a truck that they kind of take care of. That's their truck. Yep. It's their baby. It's from the 80s or the 90s, depending on how old you are. And it's like the thing that you're always going to have. It's like your teddy bear you're going to take to college or whatever. It's the same idea.
This truck, actually, I took it over to Mayville State Concordia over in Moorhead last night. And I was thinking about it today. As I was mowing the yard, I'm like, is that the first college football game that truck has been to? Because usually it was just on the farm. We took it around there. I know it went to high school football games. Heck, for the longest time when my dad coached T-ball and Little League and Pony League, like we'd take that to the games. But I was trying to think, I'm like, I don't think we ever took that to a Nebraska football game. And I don't think my parents ever drove it to one of the college football games that my brother and I played in because they were always hauling other people to the game. So I think I took Black Beauty to its first college football game last night.
You guys should be fun. I can't believe I've never seen this truck.
Really?
20 years. I don't think I have. I don't know if you've ever put on social or whatever, but I don't think I've ever. Send me a photo because I love classic cars, and I'm not a truck guy because I'm not a farm guy. But there's something special about something that's got some age to it and has been through the ringer like an old farm truck. It's something cool about that, and nostalgic and Americana just personified. So it's the kind of stuff I love. And I've got a friend that actually restores like classic trucks, like trucks from the 30s and 40s. So it's kind of his bag. So I find it fascinating. Again, nothing that I can do. Jason, in addition to not being a farm guy, I'm also a guy that can't do or fix anything. I can make you a hell of a meal, man. I tell you what, I can cook. But yeah, I'm not going to I can screw in light bulbs and I can change a tire. That might be the extent of what I can do. To the point that you make, that you have this vehicle that you keep forever because you know how to work on it. And I do the opposite. I'm getting simpler with my oil. I'm getting everything electric, man. I don't want any maintenance. I don't want anything that I have to fix because I can't. I even want battery powered electric mower, man. Which I
don't think there's anything wrong with that because especially with people's, there are some people, you're going electric. It's like, dude, with the size of some people's yards, the fact that you don't have to take care of an engine and then a carburetor clogs up on it. And then you've got to figure that whole thing out. It's so much nicer in some of those electric mowers to go that way.
It's beautiful. Jason, I can make you one hell of a carbonara. But I couldn't change a carburetor or fix a car. Yeah, you might as well just tell me to build a rocket and send it to the moon. There's no way I can do it. So, yeah, I'm not that guy. I'm a city guy. If you want to talk to somebody worse than me at fixing stuff, meet Kevin Donnelly. Holy moly. You're talking about a guy that, he's and he can cook a little bit too. And, obviously legendary football coach. And he's a savant at that, certainly. But, yeah, he's not a guy. He and I are going to build something together or we're going to fix an engine together. That's not what we do. So,
no, I way I see it is everybody's kind of got to have their strength, something that they're able to do. And if you can cook, trust me, there's a lot of farm friends I've got out there that, would burn a ham and cheese sandwich in the microwave. There's those guys that exist out there too. Well, when you're in a hurry, you can just make a quick sandwich.
Sure,
I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know. What else? What do you got for me? Hockey season started today.
I was going to say, you got Are you full into hockey? Is it like the season going now?
Yep. So we're playing early season scrimmages. So we were actually home in Fort Wayne today. It was kind of nice. Had a team from Columbus, Ohio, come up and play 2 games, and boys, they competed a little bit. It was tough first 2 games, but my son had an assist, pretty assist. Only scored, I think he scored 5 goals in 2 games a day. So it was kind of a low scoring affair, but competed, some things to build on. But we're fully in it now, and next week's gonna be crazy. 2 home games on Saturday, 2 away games up in South Bend, playing at Notre Dame, which is cool. So my son gets to play on the big ice at Notre Dame. Well, what a facility that is, the Compton Ice Arena. Dude, it's cool. I'll take some photos for you. I'll be cutting it close. I'm going to watch some NAIA games certainly Saturday night and prepare. But we'll be coming back from South Bend next weekend from hockey. So it's fun. We love it. And, it's my son's passion. And happy to do it, be a part of it. I'm the team manager, Jason. You know what the team manager does? I don't make deadline like trade deals and stuff, but I do have to schedule. I'm the scheduler, so I'm always.
Oh, so you get to deal with all that stuff.
It's fun stuff, all the stuff that no one else wants to do. So I was the music guy today too. I was like the in-game experience guy for the music. I don't hear any sound, Jason. If you're curious.
That we don't need sound. Personal.
Look at that thing.
There it is. There it is, right there.
That thing's a monster. Look at that.
That is what it looked like. When I went and pulled it out of the trees. Like, that's literally from the day where we took all the fence posts out of the back of it, yanked it out of the trees, loaded it onto a trailer, and then I brought it here to Fargo to work on for like 9 months to get it running again.
Have you done body work to it too? Do you do that type of work?
I mean, a little bit. Where you see like the rust on the side here, kind of ground that down and hit it with a rattle can, but it very much looks like, an old truck, that's for sure. So if you're ever bored and you are on YouTube and you go to my personal YouTube page, which is just Jason Dannelly, there's us with the tractor pulling it out.
Is this Nebraska, Jason? The videos.
Nebraska? Yep. This is the farm. In case you've ever seen the farm here. Oh yeah. I've
got to make the trek to the Dannelly family compound.
My parents would tell you I need to do the same. I only make it there a couple times a year right now, so I also need to probably go there too.
It's so great for our podcast listeners, Jason, having video. So we have to describe it, do a play-by-play.
Yes.
Here. But that's so cool. Yeah, good for you. And you brought the old Black Beauty back, and it's out there on the road going to college football games. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then on the opposite side, I'm going all electric, baby. I just got an electric car, and I want nothing to do with maintenance. That's where I'm living. So good for you.
I don't begrudge anybody for stuff like that. I mean, if that truck didn't exist in Nebraska and I didn't have like the family tie to it and all that, I would not have it. But right now we're just driving that thing to work every day, just beating the living hell out of it. And that's what we're doing.
So cool.
So, all right, we should probably wrap things up here. We've gone, over our 1 hour, not really time limit, but about the 1 hour that we like to try to keep this to and do all of our things. So any final thoughts here, Pat, before we wrap things up and get the heck out of here?
No, some interesting games come up this weekend. And I think it's going to be a fun conversation. I agree with you. We maybe talk about some upsets against some games that are like, well, I didn't see that one coming. It's kind of interesting. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a crazy game, the old American tackle football. And and things could be interesting this upcoming weekend. But like you said, Jason, I think we talked about it a minute ago. I think this is a deep affiliation this year. I think we're going to see some teams that are in the teens and 20s, maybe the top 25, that are going to be on the rise. Montana Tech, look out for those guys. And again, I think the world of Benedictine, certainly, even after dropping a game to the defending national champion. And there are others, Campbellsville. We talked about those teams that I think are truly on the rise and making this affiliation. We talked Georgetown and I think Cumberland, see what they're going to do and the way they respond. So, man, it's exciting. I think this is cool to watch and something to pay attention to all year. The depth, the amount of teams that we have that are competing at a high level.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to this next weekend. Some of the great games that we've got. I think the Hart Conference has got some great ones. I think the KCAC has got some really great games coming up this week too. So, absolutely. And then there's going to be that one that comes up next Saturday that we're both going to be like, holy cow, we didn't see that coming, but here we are, and here we are talking about it. So looking forward to it. All right, man. Well, That guy's Pat Donnelly. I'm Jason Dannelly. This has been NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley from the Victory Sports Network. Don't forget, coming up on Monday is the Victory Sports Network NAIA Football Top 25. Tuesday is Chips Picks. Wednesday is Around the Nation. And then we are back next Sunday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central for more NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your weekend and what's left of your weekend, and enjoy the rest of the week. Get out and enjoy some NAIA football. Have a good one, everybody.